Subscribe to our YouTube channel and press the bell icon to get the latest updates.
Over the next few days, that is in a week or so, India and China would be holding their 13th round of the Corps Commander level talks. Now these talks would be led from the Indian side by the 14th Corps Commander, that is Lieutenant General PJK Menon. Sources in the defense and security establishment say that a forward movement is expected as far as the last face-off point is concerned. Yes, I'm talking about the hot springs area. Remember that it was in July last year that a disengagement was attempted in this area too, but however it could not be successful, or I should say it was not completed by the Chinese. So you still have a small section of troops on both sides equidistant from each other in what can be broadly described as a face-off. But remember that even if there is a forward movement that takes place in the hot springs area, the forward deployment of the troops, that is the deployment of the soldiers by both India and China close to the line of actual control in Ladakh and across the LAC in the central sector and the eastern sector will continue. Now why is this so? This is because there is a trust deficit, in the sense that India does not trust the Chinese intentions and the Chinese plans ahead, because India is well aware of the Chinese capabilities. Remember that ever since the standoff began in May 2022, the situation along the LAC has changed completely. Many analysts in the defense and security establishment say that when the Chinese first moved in May 2020, they had not expected the standoff to continue. What probably the Chinese thought that they would come in, flex their muscles, and eventually will pull back once India adheres to whatever that it wanted India to adhere. However, because of the mirror deployment that the Indians did, and also because of the counter operation that was done on the intervening night of 29th and 30th August 2020, which led to the occupation of the southern banks of Pangong. So the situation turned upside down. This meant that the Chinese had to cater for long-term deployment. So ever since August last year, the Chinese have been building a number of barracks, a number of surface-to-air missile sites, roads and other infrastructure activities very close to the LAC. Now, remember the earlier face-off points like the Gogra, the Galwan Valley, the southern banks of the Pangong So, the northern banks of Pangong So have all been resolved. But this doesn't mean that the soldiers who were in face-off have gone back completely. What the Chinese have done is that they have gone back as per the mutually agreed distance and continue to remain in forward locations. Traditionally, the Chinese would carry out patrols. They would come to their claim line and would then pull back to the barracks. So it was last year that for the first time that the Chinese were forced to stay in the icy winters of Ladakh on the forward positions. For the Indians too, this is a headache, but remember that Indians have been used to such deployment, especially along the LOC, that is the line of control. As mentioned earlier, the sources say that even if there is a forward movement that takes place in the hot spring area, the forward deployment will continue to happen. But remember that even if a disengagement takes place in the hot spring area, it doesn't mean that the tensions have subsided. This is because there are a large number of troops that have been amassed by both sides, and the friction points of the Depsang Plains and Demchok continue to exist. Now these points will continue to see friction for at least few more months to come before the two sides actually sit down and decide on what needs to be done. Now as far as India is concerned, India has already carried out the advanced winter stockings for the additional troops that have been deployed there. Traditionally, you had just one division taking care of the LAC in eastern Ladakh, but now because of the rewriting of the ORBAT, that is the order of battle, you have a strike corps that has been reoriented towards the LAC from the Pakistani borders. This also means that a larger number of Indian troops are present in Ladakh to provide a multi-tier security. So you have forces who are positioned in the front lines, that is along the LAC. Then you have a certain set of soldiers to give them the additional backup that is needed. This involves those from the artillery, this involves those from the armored corps and the mechanized elements, and then you have soldiers in reserve. So this is a multi-tier deployment that is being thought about. Now, besides of course the induction of the soldiers, additional soldiers at the LAC, the Indians have also deployed at least one regiment of the ultra lightweight howitzers, that is the M777s that were imported, that were bought from the US. Besides that, remember the K9 Vajra that is manufactured by the Indian private defense firm L&T in Gujarat. Indian Army had ordered for 100 K9 Vajras, and these are 150 howitzers that were tracked howitzers that were meant to be deployed in the desert and the plains. However, earlier this year, the Indians had gone ahead and deployed 3 of them in Ladakh to see how the system functions in Ladakh. It is happy to note that the army is satisfied with the performance of these howitzers in this high altitude terrain and have now deployed one full regiment, which means out of the 100 which were initially marked for the desert and plains, 18 of them have now reached Ladakh. Now the army is also in the process of finalizing order for additional regiments of the K9 Vajras. So for The Print, this is Snehesh Philip. Do subscribe to our Print's YouTube channel for more such videos.